landing burn has started.
Both boosters looking to be on track towards their respective landing zones.
Landing zones have started. Star boosters' landing legs have deployed.
And the Falcons have landed.
So what you see behind me is the world's first fully reusable rocket. You've seen rockets lift off, but you've never seen one land before.
You can imagine that if planes were not reusable, very few people would fly. 747 is about $300 million. You'd need 2 of them for a round trip. And yet I don't think anyone here has paid $500 million to fly.
It's like getting in your 747 and flying across the country and then throwing the 747 away. You only use it one time.
Jeff who?
It will dramatically reduce the cost of space exploration, some estimate by 100-fold.
About 100-fold.
So what does this mean for the future of space exploration that you pulled this off?
Well, what we've done is we've demonstrated that it's possible.
But he was also very quick to point out the difference between space and orbit, suggesting that perhaps what Blue Origin pulled off is somewhat easier. Is he right about that?
No, he's not. What SpaceX is trying to do is actually very similar.
The idea that there's going to be a general AI overlord that subjugates us or kills us all, I think is not something to worry about. I think that is overhyped. First of all, we don't know, we're nowhere close to knowing how to build a general AI, something that could set its own objectives. We have no idea. We don't even, it's not even a valid research area. We're so far back on that one. So I think that's a very long-term prospect that it could even happen. But second of all, I think it's unlikely that such a thing's first instincts would be to exterminate us. That would seem surprising to me.
Maybe unemploy us.
Much more likely it will help us, because we're perfectly capable of hurting ourselves. Maybe we could use some help. So I'm optimistic about that one, and certainly don't think we need to worry about it today.
Was there any specific thing, or was it just the inevitability of our future?
I try to convince people to slow down AI, to regulate AI. This was futile. I tried for years.
This seems like a scene in a movie where the robots are going to fucking take over and you're freaking me out. Nobody listened.
Nobody listened.
No one. Are people more inclined to listen today? It seems like an issue that's brought up more often over the last few years than it was maybe 5-10 years ago. It seemed like science fiction.
Maybe they will. So far they haven't. I think people don't, normally the way that regulations work is very slow. Very slow indeed. So usually there'll be some new technology. It will cause damage or death. There will be an outcry. There will be an investigation. Years will pass. There will be some sort of insight committee. There will be rulemaking. Then there will be oversight, eventually regulations. This all takes many years. This is the normal course of things. If you look at, say, automotive regulations, how long did it take for seatbelts to be implemented, to be required? The auto industry fought seatbelts, I think, for more than a decade. Successfully fought any regulations on seatbelts, even though the numbers were extremely obvious. If you had a seatbelt on, you would be far less likely to die or be seriously injured. It was unequivocal. And the industry fought this for years successfully. Eventually, after many, many people died, regulators insisted on seatbelts. This time frame is not relevant to AI. You can't take 10 years.
MIT Tech Review Tuesday night reported on Amazon's plans to launch over 3,000 satellites with the intention of bringing high-speed internet to remote regions of the world. Always quick to tweet his thoughts, Musk retweeted.
Reply tweet.
Yeah, good. To MIT's
You're
tweet.
Shakespeare, Udland.
Well, I'm trying over here. He replied to MIT's tweet with the word copy, followed by a cat emoji. I guess that means copycat. To Musk's credit, the Amazon project is pretty similar to one launched by SpaceX's Starlink division last year. In November, the FCC approved SpaceX's plans to launch nearly 12,000 satellites with the same goal of providing global high-speed internet.
The lander was designed to take scientific payloads to the moon with the eventual goal of carrying humans.
And it's this generation's job to build that road to space so that the future generations can unleash their creativity. When that is possible, when the infrastructure is in place, just as it was for me in 1994 to start Amazon, when we have that infrastructure in place for the future space entrepreneurs, you will see amazing things happen. And it will happen fast. I guarantee it. People are so creative once they're unleashed.
Space rival Elon Musk tweeted a lewd response. I guess that wasn't checked by anyone to the Bezos announcement. We won't show it here, but you can find it on Twitter. In the past, Musk has called Bezos a copycat. It's times like, I mean, I guess it's exciting. The moon, I thought we'd been there, done that. There's no cheese.
Except for that we can't get there now, so it's good to see the private sector.
We don't want to get there.
In.
What's up there?
You don't
Nothing up there. I'm too scared.
Bezos dreams that one day 1 trillion people will live and work in space. But of course, that day is a long way off. To get there, Bezos has unveiled a series of steps, which will lay the foundations for future generations to come, and ultimately lead to giant space colonies, like this one. Bezos calls them O'Neill colonies, after American physicist Gerard Kitchen O'Neill, who first developed the idea.
These are very large structures, miles on end, and they hold 1 million people or more each.
And this structure rotates to induce artificial gravity. And just how big is it? For scale, here's the International Space Station. And these enormous artificial worlds don't just have to be for humans. Some could be national parks. But whatever they're for, Bezos is sure of one thing.
These are really pleasant places to live. Some of these O'Neill colonies might choose to replicate Earth cities. They might pick historical cities and mimic them in some way. There'd be whole new kinds of architecture. These are ideal climates. These are shirt sleeve environments. This is Maui on its best day all year long. No rain, no storms, no earthquakes. What does the architecture even look like when it no longer has its primary purpose of shelter?
Admittedly, doesn't that sound pretty great? Sure, but how practical is it to have entire companies dedicated to advancing human civilization in space? And even according to Bezos,
those entrepreneurial companies cannot exist today. It's impossible. And the reason is the price of admission to do interesting things in space right now is just too high because there's no infrastructure.
And that's where his space company Blue Origin comes in. First, it's working on launching and building reusable rockets like New Shepard and New Glenn, which are projected to drastically cut the cost of launching payloads into space. And secondly, Bezos wants to start pulling resources from the moon.
One of the most important things we know about the moon today is that there's water there. It's in the form of ice. It's in the permanently shadowed craters on the poles of the moon. And water is an incredibly valuable resource. You can use electrolysis to break down water into hydrogen and oxygen, and you have propellants.
Okay, so how do you extract lunar water? You go to the moon and you mine it, ideally with this, Blue Moon.
We've been working on this lander for 3 years. It's a very large lander. It'll soft land in a precise way, 3.6 metric tons onto the lunar surface.
Center core entry burn shutdown.
And even though those look very similar, those two boosters' views, those are actually representing different boosters. And they're heading towards Earth. They're about to begin their landing burns. We'll hopefully be able to bring you nice footage of that.
Both side boosters transonic.
And watch for the landing lights deploy at the tail end of that landing burn.
And that landing burn has started.
Both boosters looking to be on track towards their respective landing zones.
Landing burns have started. Side boosters landing legs have deployed.